You're muted, John.
Hey guys, I believe John is muted.
Hey, John is muted.
You know, I love when I forget that step. That's super amazing. I'm going to start over again. I'm going to say welcome to LunarCrush Live. Today we've got Misha Lederman, Director of Comms at Klever, together with Warren Manuel, Social Media Manager. And welcome back, guys. How you doing?
Thank you very much. Doing fantastic. How are you, man? How are you, Kabi?
Uh,
How are you, John?
pretty good today. Pretty good. There's some rather alarming inflation numbers hitting the wires out there. But I guess to start off, I mean, what are you guys seeing in terms of inflation in your part of the world before we get started talking about the awesome KleverChain?
I mean, I believe that the CPI numbers that just came out, 9.1%, I think that we're looking at such a micro scale of what is actually going on the macro factors of not just the US economy, but the entire world. We probably will have a recession being proclaimed as well in the United States within 15 days. And the CPI numbers clearly are somewhat fabricated. We have double-digit increases on gas, oil, food prices, and somehow CPI tends to be under 10% still, which is a bit insane. But we in the crypto community, I think we should really focus on what we can do through Bitcoin, crypto, Web3, and blockchain to calm down the people's fears and concerns about what will come around the corner, because I am not very hopeful about the global economy. We're probably going to see much worse times.
I mean, Misha, Bitcoin has never been through a recession since like its launch in 2009. Be interesting just to know, like, what do you think about, Bitcoin in a recession?
I believe we need to see Bitcoin as part of the global economy, because it's truly become an integral part of how Wall Street, how hedge funds, how institutional players calculate their moves. But at the same time, we cannot forget what Bitcoin stands for and the value it brings to the table of freedom, of self-custody, of individual empowerment, of community empowerment. So however it will do in terms of price is not really for me to be an oracle for, but I do know that it will bring immense tools to humanity, somewhat that we haven't seen available in a recession before. And I think that's what's important to focus on.
It's interesting. Like we were just chatting backstage, but there's this kind of quantitative side and there's this qualitative side of life, of the economy. And it's interesting when you look at, if you're in your 40s, you've never seen this before, and you're in your 40s in your lifetime, you've never seen anything like this. And there's a genuine qualitative part of this that is confusing. It's scary. Don't know what to do. And as you guys sit here and talk about Bitcoin, it is the solution, except you have to look at its life cycle, right? Bitcoin is nowhere near what we're experiencing, which is more than the greatest inflation in more than 40 years. And don't forget that the M1 money supply has increased 80% in the last few years here. 80. So to say that we're experiencing a 9.1% inflation is nonsense. It's like a short-term thing. And if you look from where I sit, a hotel, a really nice hotel that might have cost $300 to stay a night at a year ago is now $750. That's what I'm seeing. Gas is over $7 where I live, US. And so when you look at that, there's nothing 9.1% about that. And sure, there's short-term summer demand and everything, but I also live in a place where homes have increased 200% over the past decade. It's wild. And that creates an affordability crisis, and that creates all sorts of other issues. Like when it's fun if you're an owner, and it's a nightmare if you're not. And the reality is, the problem is these homeowners feel rich now because their homes went up, because it's their largest asset. And what's crazy to me is that their homes probably didn't really go up at all. It's just the monetary part of this that like there's just more supply. So it's going to be a crazy next few years here. You know, we're all in different parts of the world too. I mean, Kabi, you're over in Kenya. What are you seeing?
I mean, there's so much discussion going on down here, given that, countries from, I'd say mostly middle income and low income countries, like, are usually really affected by such factors in the economy. Like if you say right now, I mean, people are queuing just to get fuel for a whole day. Some areas, like, people are on the streets already, complaining about prices of food and prices of fuel and energy and all that kind of stuff. But all in all, when I look at crypto and think of how this is gonna impact, then the next, of course, we are gonna go into a recession, or even if it doesn't happen, like, we are headed towards some, tough time, and it could be, as long as a year. But I'm thinking in terms of I'm looking at crypto, emerging from, this kind of recession or hard time really strong compared to, the other assets, because I'm looking at everyone right now is looking at, what asset are we gonna hold that's completely not influenced by any authorities or individuals or governments. And now the crypto conversation is picking up, and, everyone's trying to look at themselves and analyzing, and, looking at just what are we gonna be, banking on as, the best asset coming out of this.
Yeah, and I mean, before Warren can also come in on this, but I think we need to also understand the time frames and look out a little bit. Yeah, we're down to around 19K again, top of the 2017 cycle. However, my daughter was born 2 years and 3 months ago, and we were able to scoop up BTC for her at 3,900. And she's, a long-term investor of, we're talking about 20 more years before she can even touch her coins. So with the halving about 630 days away, we cannot forget the fact that Satoshi has thought about this as well. We are just 3 halvings in. There is so much more to the Bitcoin life cycle than just being in the experience of its first recession. So I think we need to zoom out, take a chill pill, and understand that there's amazing building going on inside of the blockchain world and inside of Bitcoin and in Web3. So for that, I am very optimistic. But Warren, what do you say?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a strange thing right now. I mean, I'm here in South Africa, and if you look at that middle income kind of range, it doesn't exist anymore. It's either lower income or you're extremely rich at the moment. Middle income has completely almost evaporated and fallen away because that whole sector is struggling. And everybody is looking into this Bitcoin cryptocurrency space, like you said, trying to find that coin or that opportunity that allows them to zoom out, obviously take on a coin or have a look at a particular portfolio and have that grow over time, and obviously, do it in a way that you are safe, do it in a way that kind of supports all the legal sides of things when it comes to the different countries, and then obviously grow and be able to make use of that in the future. And it's a strange thing, but everybody's looking at this digital space, and in a way, as much as everything is crumbling around them, they're excited about it. And you can see that in the space as well, and that excites me, because we're in a space that is exciting, we're in a space that's completely new, and we're in a space that is definitely in the right time to find itself, to create that foundation that is long-term, and then obviously to grow from there. So it's a weirdly exciting time during the craziness.
Well stated. I'm sorry, I think we have some beeps from Warren. We'll get that fixed. Well stated. It's exciting to still see that there's so much building going on in the community. And there genuinely is an excitement, and it's more of a mission for a lot of the builders here than anything. They're really after changing the world. So with that, let's change gears. We talked about inflation, but I just want to start with a disclaimer before we get started here. We don't take payment. We love these guys. We've had Klever on. I think this might be our 3rd stream with you guys, and I think we've even done some Twitter Spaces with you. But we just bring projects on that, you know, we love, that they're doing cool stuff, and you guys certainly are. And today we're going to talk about KleverChain, which is really like the next, I guess, evolution of Klever, its own native layer 1 blockchain. So want to hear more about that. Talk about where it's going, answer some of your questions. If you have questions out there, please feel free to, if you're on YouTube or Twitter, post those questions and we'll get those answered. With that, let's talk about what's going on. So maybe tell us a little bit more, I guess introduce yourselves to those that don't know who you are, maybe where in the world you are and what's it there like today, other than inflation being not a fun topic to talk about.
For sure. I'm Misha Lederman. As John said, I'm the Director of Communications at Klever. Usually, I do these lives both for Klever and when I joined the guys at LunarCrush from Israel, but I'm actually in Sweden right now, my birth country, visiting family, working from here. And yeah, inflation here is also high. I think 8.6%, but the Swedish krona decided to be outside of the Eurozone many years ago in my first election. So slightly more independent, but of course feeling the heat.
Yeah, Warren from South Africa, in the social media side of things. Not sure what my title is anymore. I dabble, probably to my own detriment everywhere. But yeah, from South Africa, 100% storm out there at the moment, but sitting in some heated space at least to keep warm. So all good.
Very nice. Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about KleverChain. So you guys launched this on July 1st, which, to start off, congratulations in this environment to launch your own blockchain. It's a huge feat. One of the things that we did was we were looking at some of our social data, which was going on at the moment when you guys were launching it, and social contributors, like you hit 5,000 on like right away. Like you had 5,000 social contributors right at that moment. It's the highest point in a very long time. Social contributors, you actually hit an all-time high, almost 9,000 at that moment. So it's pretty explosive, which is actually why one of the reasons we brought you guys up, because we were wondering what the heck is going on, and that was sort of our entrance into like learning about KleverChain, which we thought was really cool. So tell it, like, why a new layer 1 blockchain? There's so many other chains out there. What prompted you to create your own chain?
It's the right question is the $1 billion question eventually. There are many reasons why Klever needed to build our own chain. And first and foremost, it was to complete our own ecosystem. So we currently have the Klever wallet with over 3 million users. We have the Klever exchange launched last year. We have the Klever swap, that is one of our main revenue streams that keep us going, keep us moving without any VCs. We have the Klever custody, and we're also building a hardware wallet right now called Klever Safe with our own Klever electronics squad at the University of Fortaleza in Brazil, which is super exciting. But we can get to the Klever Safe later. Why our own chain? Because we've been building on top of 22 other chains, and over the years understood that there's a lot of limitations for developers on how to deploy their dApps, on how to communicate with blockchain foundations, on how to take part in the documentation readily available from these blockchain protocols. It's highly lacking. The communication is super lax and very, very, very fringe. And we essentially came up with a new system where instead of today on a virtual machine, like Ethereum virtual machine or any other blockchain protocol where you use a virtual machine, you essentially use the virtual machine to code your smart contracts on top of. But if you remove the virtual machine and instead provide a ready-made, ready-built, ready-to-use smart contract for anyone, any developer to tap into through an API, you remove a lot of the complexities and a lot of the costs and clearly a lot of the time used to integrate smart contracts such as staking, NFT royalties, how to start your project with a token, how to do an ITO, and many other ways. So we created something we call Smart Contracts 2.0, Klever Caps or Caps, where essentially is a ready functionality for any developer to tap into. And this, together with the fact that many other chains have very unpredictable fee structures, very high fee structures, the need for our own chain to build out the foundation for our ecosystem was a necessity.
And when you look at your ecosystem, I guess, what gets impacted the most out of you having your own chain versus where you were before?
Warren, you want to take that?
Well, there's one part I wanted to add as well. I mean, so I'm an entrepreneur. So when it comes to things, if I see something interesting or I find something that is new that I could possibly dabble in, I'll dabble in that space. But the entrepreneurs, the guys on the street that's trying to make that money, they're struggling to find the tools, to find the finances and the resources to actually, and of course the skills, to build things on blockchain. So they could go to all the other chains and they could give those chains a try. But the likelihood is that they'll spend whatever money they have. It's probably not a lot, and they'll struggle and they won't succeed. The nice thing about Caps and obviously KleverChain is it allows us entrepreneurs, the guys that really have the very cool businesses, that have the word of mouth capabilities and obviously gets out there in the streets and makes money, that gives them access to something completely different, a mechanism to actually take their little cash, build on a blockchain environment, and actually do it so quickly, so smart, and then at the same time be able to obviously expand very quickly because they're in the communities. They have the masses and the word of mouth and the reach and all those things, but they don't have that blockchain or those tools available to them. This is just an awesome opportunity to easily dive into that space. So you don't have to be the really rich developer out there that's already got a ton of cash. You can be the guy and the bloke in the street. You could be the one that's in the Web 2 space that's trying to move into this particular environment, and you can build with ease. And that makes it quite cool as well.
So Warren mentioned, let me mute that real quick. So Warren mentioned the environment and the community. And, you know, if you look at that environment and that community right now, it's tough. It's tough. So I'm super curious to know what was it like launching a layer 1 in this environment?
That's a great question. You know, most people would probably wish to launch something like this and provide new innovation during a bull market. But we at Klever, we really have seen, independent of market conditions, users and developers are always looking for innovative solutions. And the reception from the community, from industry players, from existing partners, from future partners, and from the developers community has been really massive. And very exhilarating and super exciting. People need to understand that great things take time to build. But we've done a lot of trips over recent time to Dubai, to Malta, to the United States. And on these trips, we met with enterprise companies as well as regulators who all have seen huge value in what we provide, especially with the removal of the complexity. So there are millions of Web 2 developers out there that perhaps want to, just Warren said, want to tap into the power of Web 3, want to be able to build an NFT platform, want to be able to sell their goods in a different financial environment that crypto enables. But they can't because the smart contract hindrance is a blockage because they don't understand it. They need to outsource that kind of coding, and it makes it a massive vulnerability. So if you remove the complexity and replace it with simplicity and speed and a lot cheaper movement, there's a lot of players that are super interested to build on KleverChain.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Go ahead, Kavi.
I just wanted to say, the future is obviously multi-chain, and we've seen so many, layer ones come up in I would say the recent year. And I guess my question to you guys would be, what opportunities are you seeing in terms of your own blockchain? I've seen so many blockchains that some are specific they're customized for specific activities on the blockchain, and some are just general blockchain. So my question to you guys would be like, what's the opportunity you are seeing on the market with KleverChain as a blockchain?
I think one of the greatest things in terms of multi-chain infrastructure is our current infrastructure already in place. We've already built out a multi-chain wallet with a multi-chain swap with 528 trading pairs running on our own native code. So the multi-chain interconnectivity is something that is already there from the infrastructure level, from an architectural level. So adding KleverChain to it, making it easier and faster for developers to build while being able to connect to all of the chains using our existing infrastructure, I think is very unique. And I'm sure Warren would like to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. The interesting part about KleverChain and all of the Klever ecosystem is that we've spent the past few years developing amazing products, refining them, tweaking them to the point that they are ready to be consolidated with KleverChain in this massive, absolutely smooth operation that just runs with skilled developers in-house that comfortably understands through all their learnings over the past few years exactly what is out there, what other chains are doing, where the blockers are, and taking all those instances and building something unique. And I think the fun part comes in the next few months and towards next year when we've just released Dio's article on Klever News. So I mean, it's pretty much defined in that space, but that ability to actually take all the learnings for the next period, consolidate our products, and then refine everything, use our developers, use our learners, our learnings, and basically start tapping into all these Web 2 markets and all those things. And the funny thing is, everybody, there's many comments, you're not doing enough marketing and all those types of things. But the marketing is one thing, but the developers are already there. The business is already waiting in the background to dive in and get going. We've had so many requests while we were launching or in this launching period saying, when can I actually launch my ITO? When can I do this? When can I get my or work on caps at the moment? So it's all there. The business is there. And I think the team and their skilled learnings have built something amazing, and the ability to grow in this space is going to be quick, and the system allows for that. So fun times.
So there's an interesting thing going on there, because you mentioned marketing in this space right now, which is really not easy, right? It is really simple to market when everything's going straight up. When we're talking prices are going up, when we're talking about the growth of everything is skyrocketing, it's easy. In fact, anyone could be terrible at it and still do fine in that environment. But when things are a lot of tokens are down 90+%, and Bitcoin's down, I don't even know what the number is now, we'll call it 60-something%. Like, in that environment, it's a challenge, and you actually have to be strategic. You have to understand how the community is feeling, have empathy for what's going on. And I guess in this environment, when we see what we're seeing, and you're launching your own blockchain, I guess, how do you look at supporting that community building on it? Because they're launching a fresh token today is really hard in this environment. So like, how do you look at that and your role in supporting that community building on your chain?
Go ahead, Warren, if you want to take it.
Well, I mean, I'll talk from a marketing point of view. I mean, there's a lot happening in this space, but there's a few factors to this, and I guess one of them, if you take marketing is something, of course, we can do ads. We can push out some ads, we can create some cool memes, we can create a massive amount of hype that pushes the price, and obviously, drives all that attention. But with the market as it is right now, it's very difficult to maintain that pace, and most likely the shorts and all those other issues come into play. But we're not here for quick wins. We're here for the long haul at the end of the day. So what marketing has also done is they've gone the route of building foundational products while the developers and the blockchain guys are busy building all their foundational things and obviously making sure that the ecosystem is sound. So for instance, Klever News has been built. It's supporting a full publisher network operation. It's pushing news out. We've just created some ads. We got almost 100 applications for writers that want to join the Klever News space. And that's within the community, which is amazing. And they're quality writers, so we'll dive into that space. At the same time, in the future, Klever News will actually start rewarding users for reading crypto-orientated news and obviously have the ability to dive into that space. So users will be rewarded and community members will be rewarded to actually to dive into that space. Then the other part is utility. So the marketing team has gone out and said, right, how do we create utility? How do you start building scenarios where KLV can be used in the normal environments? So that's also been done. So there's the one part of marketing is obviously pushing out the brand, things like this that we're currently doing. And then the other part is actually creating those foundational tools that just brings users in the background quietly, gets them engaged with the product, allows them to understand the brand, all the other great brands that are out there. And at the same time, continually building onto that utility to make sure that the community is supported in all those spaces. So lots of interesting things. I don't want to dive in too much. I'm sure it will come up a little bit later, but there's a lot of cool things coming in that space.
I mean, I know it's been a week or two.
Wait, Gabi, just to kind of go into what John also asked regarding supporting builders and projects who essentially want to launch at this time during a bear market. Why do that and how? Well, I think there's no better time to build than during a bear market, because when you lay your foundation, you can't do that during a bull market, because like John said, anyone can be an idiot and market a great, just any project and win essentially. But what Warren is speaking of is building a long-term foundation for something to grow over years. And that's exactly what we're doing with this approach, which is essentially to improve the relationship between the Klever Foundation blockchain engineers and the projects building on top of KleverChain. Why? Because we experienced the lack of communication from Tron, Binance Smart Chain, Polkadot, and so on. However great chains they might be, the documentation and the teams weren't there to guide the team through, because building on top of a new blockchain is intricate, it's advanced, and it's often very complex to understand the blockchain protocol. So what we're doing is, instead, we have, for instance, two projects, great projects, games. One is called Devicans under Moon Labs, which is under the Klever gaming house, and our partner Love Monster, which is also a game. And what we're doing there is we're providing blockchain expertise and infrastructure for their games to be able to be deployed to the blockchain itself, thereby allowing them to focus on what matters the most: their project, their business plan, their business model, their team, and their community, because that's really what matters the most, is to do what you are best at and know what you are not good at, and thereby be able to work with experts who can fill you in and make you better than what you are today.
Yeah, I was just to add to that, maybe Warren mentioned so many areas of your ecosystem, and you just had a launch, I'd say 2 weeks ago. So I'm sure you're really doing the most in terms of onboarding right now. Maybe what areas are you seeing so much interest right now in terms of onboarding in your ecosystem?
Yeah, the NFT space is obviously massive in every sense of the word, and I guess the word NFT has also become quite unique in a sense, because it means so many different things. So there's a lot of things housed in the NFT space. There's a lot of things housed in the. I mean, we just had our Klever hackathon recently, and the NFT side of things is a very big part of it. People have come through with some great concepts that's in that space. The web browser side of things is also growing in that particular instance. I mean, we have our own Klever web browser that or application that should be kicking in shortly. And then there's a lot of other initiatives that's coming into just the general business-orientated side of blockchain. So, I mean, I can't share too much about that. Duca would probably strangle me. But there's a few fantastic projects that's come through from the hackathon side of things. But NFTs are pretty much big at the moment. I think that stands out from the crowd right now.
And to add to that, the head of our Klever Exchange and now also head of Klever NFT, Felipe Rieger, has been working on, together with a new team, actually, a newly created team, to essentially build a NFT minting solution, but it uses all the powers of the KleverChain. For instance, today, Kabi, you want to create your NFT collection, but in order to have royalties on chain, it's an impossibility because there's no blockchain out there that offers royalties for NFTs currently. You can do that on a centralized platform, perhaps on like OpenSea or others. But with our solution, you'll actually be able to tap into all of these powerful features that NFTs and especially utility NFTs can and have to come with in order to grow the industry. So like Warren said, we can't say too much because the launch is right around the corner. But independent of market conditions, it's super exciting to see how many projects are interested to build on our chain, how many people want to come and use and understand why are you building this way, what makes it simpler and easier, what makes it faster, can I save money doing that way. And I think the NFT royalties and the minting platform that Rieger is building is a really prime example of that.
No, question on I guess building on KleverChain. You know, it's kind of one thing to have an idea and be empowered to be able to kind of go and like create your own token yourself versus, you know, hiring contractors, as you mentioned, Misha. Like there's so many challenges with that. Who's got the keys and all this fun stuff. And if you look at that, like does a project, there's sort of the dApp side of it where they're building their own application, and then there's sort of the ecosystem that you're built on. And so if someone were to create a token on KleverChain, I guess how does the rest of your ecosystem play with that? Does the token get listed on your exchange? Does it get in your wallet? Like how does that all play out?
That's a great question. So directly, first of all, currently there are 5 apps, Klever apps on. Oh, that's a lot of round sound. On KleverChain. The number 1 cap is issue tokens and NFTs. Super simple procedure. You don't even have to be a developer to do this. And it's literally just guiding you through as a demo. The second cap is staking. So anyone should be able to stake and offer staking in their projects. And we enable that. The third one is, like you said, raise your funds as kind of ITO. The fourth one is to create NFT marketplace. And the fifth one is multi-sig. There are many others that are coming, swap cap, dice cap. But if you issue a token on KleverChain, directly and automatically, your token will be available in our new wallet, the K5. That's currently in open beta. And that essentially is the 5th iteration of our wallet ecosystem. But in order to support the KleverChain speed of transactions and scalability, we needed a new and improved infrastructure, and especially from a security architecture standpoint, and also, of course, to be able to get in these very cool new crypto-related services with our partners, such as Travala is now integrated directly into the K5, Unstoppable Domain directly integrated well on the marketplace. So there's a lot of services that come with in the Klever ecosystem just by being able to create a token, for instance, and then you're available on the K5 wallet to thousands of users around the world instantly. So that's all interconnected for sure.
That's incredibly important. Like I can't overestimate how important that is, because when you launch a token, and then you're just hunting for exchanges to list and dealing with all of the different challenges around having a token, that is extremely complicated. Like there's a lot of different moving parts. It's very, very complicated. And we can get
you
into
know
that on
that
another show.
with the lunar
Yes.
with the lunar token, how has that experience been for you as you kind of built out the lunar token and launched it, and then had to get it into wallets and exchanges and into swaps? How has that experience been?
You know, it's like there's two different worlds. You know, like there's our DApp side of this, where it's integrated into our user experience. There's modeling around how it's used. There's levels of access on our site. We have staking that we've built out, and we just keep building. Like we're launching more levels. We're launching more utilities. Shortly, we're launching an API that uses our token. There's a lot more. We're building B2B tools, like if there's such a thing as B2B in this space. You know, we're doing a lot, and it's, in fact, if anything, that side has done nothing but accelerate since we went live. There's this other side that is get it listed on this exchange, get liquidity. If you don't have liquidity, you don't get on this other exchange. If you want to be on that exchange, you have to do this, you have to do that. And so there's this sort of like trading world that's completely a different planet from the building and application side. And those two users of those two different sides, they tend to be kind of different. You know, when you look at a lot of the exchanges, a lot of those tokens that are listed, how many of them do you think that the users actually use? Like a lot of those tokens stay in those exchanges. And in some cases, it's even questionable, does that exchange even have that token? Like, do they actually have supply of that token? You don't know, because none of it's on chain. And so there's a lot of different, like, again, it's like two different worlds. And, you know, everything is a learning experience. Working with every exchange and every wallet is a completely different experience. And that's where you literally need an army of people to just manage that side. And we're not talking building at all. We're talking about like operationally managing exchanges. So it's been an interesting experience across the board, I would say. And even if you've done this 10 other projects, then they're still doing this right now in this environment where, you know, look at Celsius, look at Voyager, you got to be careful. You know, I feel bad for everyone that built on Terra. You know, it's like there's a challenging environment that we're in for sure. So, but it's been fun.
Yeah, but I think you said something really good, Warren, right before. For us, we see that the future is on chain. Right? It should not just be that speculative trading environment where Binance and FTX and other players are dominating, and the centralized aspect of it is clearly very worrisome long term. But that's why we're bringing royalty features for NFTs on chain. That's why we're building swap caps on chain. That's why we're making sure that a new token that's issued on chain comes directly reflected into the wallet without any application or communication. It should be automated, and it should be simple, and therefore smarter and easier for both developers and users alike. So the future is definitely on chain for us.
It's such a simple concept. You know, if there's one concept that you could say wins long term, it's transparency wins. You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of issues that I could probably go through with things being off chain and not having visibility into that. And it's an interesting time we're in. And again, hopefully this is one of those positive things that comes out of it, is everyone's realizing just how much transparency means and how important having things on chain is.
I'll just add to that as well. I mean, you know, one of the things that we do well and that we're trying to do more of is that you know, KleverChain comes with a whole bunch of experts when it comes to, you know, blockchain technology approaches, technology in general, and as the transparency side of things, we're all available. Everybody's out there, everybody's working hard to make sure that everybody understands who we are, our mission, our goals, and all those things. But when developers come on board and actually join the KleverChain or the Klever ecosystem, the support is there. And the funny thing is, it's the technical side, which is a big thing, but there's also the side of the marketing, as an example. Imagine access to the technical side of things to make sure that your work is done properly and that the mechanisms are done properly. Making sure that you can use CAPS to automate and do things very quickly, things that you can trust with regards to process and security. And then you've got the marketing side that says, here's a whole foundation available of individuals that understand the brand. There's opportunities to use things like our publisher networks, our access, our ability to support you in all those instances. And suddenly you've got a solution that covers almost every aspect of your business needs, and we're able to support and obviously guide you and help you within those instances. So you're not just getting little bits here and there. You're not outsourcing to a whole bunch of different companies hoping to keep track of what's going on. You have one hub, one ecosystem that's able to support you in a clever way.
Was that? Do we have a delay?
I don't know. What sound was that?
Yeah,
Javier,
maybe.
are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope you guys can hear me. I wanted to ask, so like as you onboard new developers into your ecosystem, we have seen like you take a couple of steps. For example, like you said, I had a statement from one of your leads mentioning one does not need to know how to code on a blockchain to use KleverChain, and you are like trying to lower the barrier of entry into your platform as much as possible. Perhaps like what are some of the steps you're taking to onboard developers as much as you can, and also like what challenges are you facing as you try to onboard new devs on your ecosystem?
I think all developers and all developer teams want to build faster, leaner, simpler, and cheaper. And by solving our own problems first, and how to do things simpler, how to do things faster, and how to build things at a lower cost, we've been able to solve a lot of the problems that future developer teams will face when they're integrating blockchain products. So, for instance, the games that are integrating into the KleverChain currently, they are using something called the crypto bank that we've created, which is essentially a tool for games and NFT platforms to be able to have accounting, and thereby making it life infinitely simpler for the teams building on top of KleverChain by simply tapping into the tools that we've already built to solve our own problems. So there's a lot of features and a lot of tools that are there being public to the community that we've perfected and made mistakes over the years in order to reach a better solution. But these solutions are now becoming public to everyone, simply because for us, we see it as a much larger mission. We want to be part in building, just like we have public goods today, like public service for water and electricity and gas. We want to build out the public infrastructure for financial services available to everyone. So in order to first solve our own problems, come out with a solution, we want to now provide that solution for millions of devs around the world. And it's simply a more efficient way, we believe. And having that interconnectivity between the foundation and the community of developers will be key to achieving that.
Yeah, love that. Love that. It's great answer. And I want to shift into talking about something that we talk often on the show about scalability. And scalability, doesn't matter much if you don't have an application with much activity, but all of a sudden, once you do, you start compensating and trying to figure out processes to slow things down and dealing with all that. I mean, I guess we were reading it. I think you have up to 3,000 transactions per second. Is that correct at the moment? Yeah, and I guess, how do you look at that evolving? Where can that head to, and how do you look at scalability going forward?
Yeah.
We should have Matthias here for this answer because he's stress tested the systems beyond repair. So I think 3,000 is a number that we're sharing at the moment. It's a lot more. The chain has the ability to quite fairly enough exponentially grow. Especially with things like side chains coming on board and all of that. So there's a lot of opportunity to use our chain, to use KleverChain to its full capacity, which is at the moment not really known because it's definitely bigger than what we're pushing out there. But I think the important part is that we've gone through these processes with all the other chains that we've been building on. Understanding how they're doing their things, understanding how to better it, and also understanding how to scale. Because, like you said, at the end of the day, if we can't scale, or if we couldn't scale right from day one, or when we considered this particular side of things, it would rather have been silly to even go down this road. So we're ready, we're well prepared, and our tech is as well. So it should be interesting.
Well, and I guess, how do you look at it based upon the types of, there's kind of the technical side of scaling, and then there's the, like, what gets built on your platform, on your chain that needs that scale. And I guess, what are some trends you're seeing in projects that are building on KleverChain? Are there certain things that are going to require a lot of scale? I guess, what are you seeing?
For sure, in terms of gaming, the quicker way, especially gaming houses who are interested in blockchain and crypto integrations, they have millions of transactions, and it's something, if you can do this on chain and not just through backend centralized servers, it's something that can benefit both the project users and, of course, the chain itself through increased activity. So the gaming projects that are coming aboard and the ones who are interested in coming on board definitely need that scaling solution. And it's super exciting to see and hear what they need and kind of how many users they're integrating into the system. We can't talk about everything, unfortunately, in public yet, but definitely in terms of gaming and NFT sides of the games, there's a lot of scalability needed. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, on chain and gaming at scale, I mean, that's like sub 1 second confirmations. I guess, what kind of speed are you guys hitting right now?
We've just launched, and we have a rollout phases, and we're currently in the phase 1 out of 5. So phase 0 was the first one where we roll out some first features into the wallet, and then soon the web extension and the caps demo. So in terms of stress testing that network, we're very early on. However, we've had a testnet running for first internal testnet for half a year, and then public testnet for another half year. And we've been able to reach immense millions of transactions on a daily basis. So when it comes to integrating a very large game, most likely the sidechain alternative will be something that will be relevant at the time. But that's something further down the line. We need to build a very strong foundation first, and we need to have a lot of patience with the tech team, with the labs team, and with the projects building on it, for sure.
I'm sure with that explosive, social activity on the day of launch, there's so much. I'm sure you guys are following that very closely, and there's so much you take away from that. I mean, be interesting just to know what was like the takeaway on the day of launch, just especially from the response from the community.
think I'll jump in here and just say that that we absolutely love our community. So every single one of those individuals that's engaging with us, that's challenging us, that's obviously questioning us, we absolutely love every single one of them, and we appreciate all the support, all the efforts to try and to grow the brand, to fix any bugs that might be out there. And like we said, we're very transparent. We're always in the comms and in the channels to try and get to everybody as quickly as possible. But without them, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be working this hard. We wouldn't be developing as quickly as we do, and obviously trying to create products that supports every single one of them. So the activity was massive, and if it shows anything, we're still a very small community, and that's a massive amount of activity right there and then. And as we grow, and as the projects start developing, and the community start growing, and all the different connections start kind of syncing up on the ecosystem side of things, this just gets bigger. So very much looking forward to walking the road with them, and obviously growing with them. Yeah.
I mean, Warren, on that note, I mean, I still I don't even know how long ago that Misha was on here. A year and a half, almost 2 years. I don't even know, 2 years ago, and
Yeah,
your
the
team
first
was
one
very
was probably
small.
somewhere then. Yeah, we were
Your
very
team
small
was
then.
small. I don't even. What was the size of your team back then? I don't even remember. Like
I
30
mean,
people or something.
probably first time when I came on your show. I mean, when we started out, we were probably 6, 7, 8 in early in 2019. We're over 200 people today. So when we first met, we came on your show, we were probably around 20, 30. Yeah.
I mean, and how about today?
Close to 200 people, yeah, with more than 165 developers only.
And that's, it's interesting. The crypto space is really interesting because I could look at that and go, wow, that's amazing. You guys have had awesome growth, and that's incredible. So congratulations. But you guys equally are growing on the community side at that same time, and geographically, it's everywhere, right? I mean, I don't even know 100 and something countries you guys must be operating in. How do you manage that? And I'm pairing this with what Warren was talking about, because he's talking about there's a lot of questions, and you have to learn to appreciate the questions in this space, because it means they care. It means people care, and it helps you get stronger. But I mean, how do you manage that with your team?
I mean, our greatest asset, without a doubt, is our community. There is no one out there who are not just feeding us with feedback, giving us ideas, giving us feedback on how to get better, how to improve things. But something we've really learned over the years working on such a global scale is how to have, first of all, the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure. Which kind of microservices are we using, and in which regions are we active? So we need servers that are active both in the Americas, in Europe, Africa, in Western Asia, and also in Eastern Asia, in order to cover this entire web of Klever users. So that's something that we needed to build out. And currently, our CTO is building out essentially a Klever cloud, where data storage will be managed in a decentralized and bit smarter and cheaper way. But we will also come to announcements of that in the future. But it's inspiring to also see the growth, not just of the marketing team, but also of the support team, in order to cover all the languages that are now more than 30 languages of the app. We're talking about huge swaths of users in Sub-Saharan Africa, in Southeast Asia. So being able to grow with our community and cover their needs, it's an amazing thing to be part of, and humbling for sure.
I mean, just something I have noticed is there like effort you're putting towards your growth in Africa and Southern Asia, because it's really massive.
100%. It's a weird thing. I mean, just talking about growth, the team tested one ad in the African space, but actually in the Kenya space. And it's been running for a week, just a random test to kind of see how it is out there with one of our wallets. And within a week, we had an extra 10,000 downloads just in that one region with regards to our Klever Wallet app. And it sounds like a silly number for a ridiculously silly price that we pushed out there. But as much as the market is saturated with products, as much as there's thousands of communities out there, trying to find their place in this crypto space and all of that, we haven't really touched. There's so much opportunity still out there, so we haven't really gone the route and maxed out this crypto community side of things. There's so much opportunity. There's a lot of more people that will be filtering through into our communities, and we look forward to kind of growing with them in every sense of the word. It's fun times.
And I think
strategy,
that also taps, sorry, John, but that taps into kind of our philosophy, right? Like, yeah, we're in a bear market. Yes, people are hopelessly kind of pessimistic about what's happening with Bitcoin and with crypto, but we are not. We're seeing a lot of projects, a lot of people wanting to come into it. I mean, we're talking for us, we've always spoken about billions of users in the future. So this is just a bump on the road. And the beautiful thing about crypto and Bitcoin is that just as it burns down, it rises from the ashes every time, much stronger than legacy finance and TradFi. So as we see very high inflation and pessimism in the legacy finance world, I do think that crypto will be one of the main tools to get us out of this mess that central bankers and government policies over decades have put us in. And the only way for us to achieve that is by building together as a community. So I'm inspired and I'm very hopeful about the future of crypto.
I just wanted to add what you guys are saying. Like, I totally resonate with like what Warren, you were talking about growing with the community, and Misha, you're talking about how this is a solution for the future globally. And it's kind of interesting because everyone has this sort of short-term lens in this space that, like, you go on Twitter and see people are talking about the last 3 minutes. And, we've been tracking as many social mentions as we possibly can, probably more than everyone in the world right now. And when we look at, what we saw like 3 years ago, and back in 2019, we were collecting, once with spam removed, by the way, with spam removed, this excludes all spam. We've gotten very, very good at collecting spam and identifying it, very accurate. We were looking at like sub 100,000 posts a day, right? And so spam has skyrocketed, but we're still good at collecting spam and understanding it. And that we're talking sub 100,000 posts across the entire space. Today we're pushing 2.5 million in 3 years.
Oh, there you go.
Still, but still, even and by the way, that's with the same collection. Nothing's tweaked there. And when you look at that, even today, with the market where it is, it's not decreasing. It's not even really that flat. It's kind of still edging higher over time. So like, that just shows, I mean, you can't make that up. It's objective. And like, when you look at it, it sort of just shows the interest of what's going on. And hopefully it goes along the lines of what Misha's talking about, which is the world starting to wake up and realize that there's something here and there's something that needs to change. And hopefully, back to our starting point here of today's inflation numbers, people, it's another wake up call, that there has to be another way out of here. Kavi, you got one more question on here. I want to make sure you ask towards our document here, but please go for it.
Yeah, we've had, I know this is out there already, but you guys, do you have like a metaverse coming on the KleverChain?
I'm going to stay out of this one, Misha. I've met my boss.
So the metaverse, or the Cleververse, is being already built and is being developed. Dio, our CEO, came out just a few days ago teasing the community a little bit. I can tease slightly more. It's related to the trips that we've had over the last recent weeks and the people that we've met. And we're building out somewhat of a metaverse of metaverses where people can build within worlds, let us say, but very targeted towards enterprises, larger companies, and already established businesses. There's a lot of opportunity in this um, kind of digital world that you can create inside a metaverse, but only if you have the infrastructure to support it. So the Cleververse is being built. It's definitely going to be using KleverChain and all the different tools that we already have at our disposal and that we're building. But we're also doing something super interesting, which is actually we are putting together a cooperation agreement with the University of Fortaleza, where we already have an office and our electronics department, together with the University of Malta, as well as a university in Dubai, in order to promote education and awareness among both students and high school students. We're talking about higher education as well as kids, essentially, in order to teach crypto and understand the benefits of blockchain and tying together those three continents will be an epic undertaking, and we will also use the Cleververse, of course, to facilitate that.
Awesome.
On that note, what else can the community look forward to with, I guess, with both KleverChain and just the overall general Klever ecosystem?
So I'll add one.
Okay. You want to jump in, Warren? And go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'll just add one thing. I think utility from my side, and when I say utility, I mean physical utility to buy digital goods, to buy normal goods, to use our token KLV in a smart, normal way, like anything else. So there's a lot of different. We were waiting for our chain to go live. I think we're there. So the ability to grow our products in the mainstream area is going to be quite interesting and quick.
And speaking of utility, I mean, I don't know if you guys have downloaded the K5, but the K5 wallet essentially looks like this on the home screen. And what we've done is these two marketplaces are on the home page, and those are Travala and Unstoppable Domains, our partners. So what we're trying to do is to bring utility directly into the user's palm. We don't want them to move from Klever to Travala, from Klever to Unstoppable Domain, everything in one killer app. And that, of course, ties together what we're doing on the blockchain. So just over the next 12 months, we're going to have 8 new products coming out, a Klever blockchain API, essentially a cross-chain wallet management system, the Klever custody API, the Klever banking API, Klever Explorers, essentially cross-chain Explorer API, the Klever Exchange API for anyone who's interested in the trading and speculative aspect, like we were discussing, John. The Klever Bots is already running. All the market making that is, I'm sure, John, is a hassle on the exchange side. We handle that ourselves with our own bot squad that's headed by Dio's brother, David Ianakiara. And we're also going to have kind of a system to manage multiple exchanges. So there's a lot of things happening just on the technical side, but I'm mostly excited to see what's happening on the developers community side and which projects that are deciding to come in and build on top of KleverChain because it's a novel and innovative solution, and they get, just like Warren said, they get the full power of the Klever team behind them. So interesting and exciting times ahead.
That's incredible, and there's so many things to keep track of. Where can everyone go to learn everything about Klever?
I just call Warren. I'll give you his number. Now you go to Klever.finance. And at Klever.finance, you have all the resources. You have the new white paper that came out 1 week before we actually launched the KleverChain. You have the new section, you have the wallet section, you have the hardware wallet section, you have the exchange, and everything. All other resources can be found at Klever.finance.
Excellent. Well, Warren, Misha, Kabi, thank you for joining us today, and it's been a lot of fun, and I look forward to our next session here on LunarCrush Live, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, as always. John, say hi to Joe, Kabi. Have a fantastic time. Next time we invite you over to Klever Live as well, and you can tell us more about what's happening inside of the LunarCrush ecosystem. Always a pleasure.
Will do.
Awesome.